There's so much to talk about today on the worldview. We're going to talk about Nagorno-Karabakh and compare it to a post-World War I issue that ended up to be a major World War II issue, Danzig. And then we're going to talk about germanium and gallium and how important it is to the United States and why China may be the link to gaining perspective within the European Union to go to China to be able to get those minerals. And finally, if we have time, we're going to try to go into some different areas called the stans, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, all the different stans, and their meeting with Germany and how important that is and how that relates to the Silk Road that China is so eager to build. All that today on The Worldview. Welcome back to another worldview. I'm Chris Greco. I will be your host for the next 30 minutes talking about different parts of the world, how they're sometimes covered by the U.S. media, mainly they're not covered by the U.S. media, and how we tend to see ourselves in the United States as this little isolated area with two oceans on either side, so we don't have to worry about all that stuff. But the bottom line is this, is that slowly but surely China, Russia, other autocratic countries are starting to make their way into our United States' livelihood. And it is interesting to note that the China specifically is trying to gain more and more and more of their sovereignty outwards from China and be able to get that Chinese currency in the hands of more and more and more people. The US currency right now is the currency to hold the standard, all those things that we have. Used to be the British pound sterling, but now it's basically the US dollar. Well, what's going to happen is that the Chinese currency, the yuan, is going to slowly but surely come into play more and more and more until they are the major economic power. And by virtue of that, the major power in the world, and they can pretty much do whatever they want from that standpoint. So we have to be really, really careful about that, and we'll get into all that as a worldview comes around. But the first thing I want to talk about, and this is very important, is a place called Danzig. Now, many people do not know what Danzig is. Well, in order to understand what Danzig is, and in order to understand what it entails, we have to go back a ways to the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, when you had major empires that were in charge, basically, of Europe. And they were there, and they had a lot of power. And what happened was that there was an incident that occurred basically in all cases in the Balkans. And by that incident happening, assassination of a royal member, it ended up to be a war that was called World War I. So this is basically a map from the National Geographic of the world as it was in Europe. And you can see, you know, here's Russia here, and you can see Russia had a lot of territory, really. I mean, when you really think about it, they did have a lot of territory. And here you have Germany, right? Germany's big, and it's very stretches all the way into here. Austria-Hungarian Empire. I mean, this is really big in this area and here, right? And here you had all these other Italy and France and these other areas. So Spain, Great Britain, all these. So that was pre-World War I. Pre-World War I. So what happened after pre-World War I? Well, after pre-World War I, then you had what they call the Versailles Treaty, which was in France, and I have a little bit of that in my book. It talks about how basically any treaty that's done in France should never have ever been done, first of all, because it's all about French. It's all about the French and their power. And it tends to be an issue when it comes to what the French do with their own treaties. So basically, after the French treaty and the League of Nations, which was absolutely useless, almost as useless as the UN, although I have to say the UN has some areas like UNESCO and some other areas within the UN itself. But as far as peacekeeping, UN is sad. It's got a very sad probability of success in their peacekeeping role. So that is, again, that's my opinion. All right, folks, if you have something different, then let me know. The email is right below my title when I come up full. Send me an email. Tell me I'm full of poop, whatever. I don't care. I mean, I'd rather you give me some constructive criticism, but hey, I get it. Some people just they love to just it's their way of establishing themselves, which is fine. So, but if you have some really constructive criticism, please let me know. So here it is post World War I. Now, so here's East Prussia here, and here's Germany here. Now, Germany is here along this area. They took some of this, right? And so it administered by the League of Nations. So this is this area in here. They took this from Germany and gave it to Denmark. They gave it this area right in here, which was kind of ceded to Poland, right? But it was also an independent area and this was ceded to Czechoslovakia. So all these areas, right? All these areas in here were kind of broken up and given to different countries. They broke up Germany to give to different countries. Now let's fly ahead to 1989. Let's fly ahead to the breakup of the Soviet Union, right? And the breakup of the Soviet Union led to all these oblasts, right? These different territories that were part of the Soviet Union at one point in time, then became independent, kind of independent, and all of a sudden, the Warsaw Pact became their own deal. They joined NATO. They had all kind of different areas, but they were at one point part of the Soviet Union. So this is what's happening here, right? So what did Hitler do? Well, Hitler said, look, Germany is all Germany. We have Germany here. We have Germany here. Enough of this. The first place, well, after the Sudetenland, which was down in this area, right? The Sudetenland was in this area. They decided to, take that from Czechoslovakia, which they got with basically a bloodless war, a bloodless battle, which Britain basically said, yo, just give them Sudetenland, appease Hitler, he's okay. Then they went into Danzig. This was the invasion of Poland. They started with Danzig, and then they hit Warsaw next. So they basically, people in Danzig were right up against the German border, and they did not have the right amount of, they were building and building and building, and then finally just invaded. And they invaded Poland, took it in a week, whatever it was. And even though Britain said, oh, it'll take, months, yeah, right. So a couple of weeks, they took that. Blitzkrieg was a lightning war, right? And then they have lightning strike, whatever you want to call it, and then they went to Warsaw, and after that, it's history, right? They started taking countries right and left. Now let's move to another area called Nagorno-Karabakh. That is the thing that is kicking the Armenians' butt at this point in time. After the breakup of the Soviet Union, a lot of these different portions of the Soviet Union, Azerbaijan and Armenia being part of that, and Georgia being part of that. In fact, Baku, I remember as being one of the major military areas, right? It was one of the major naval bases. So all of a sudden, they're their own country, right? So Azerbaijan is not a friend of Russia. So Nagorno-Karabakh was kind of like here, right? And here's Azerbaijan here. Here's Armenia right down the center between a section of Azerbaijan here and Azerbaijan here. So let's take a look at this in relationship to this again. Here's East Prussia. Here's Germany. Here's Danzig. Here is Azerbaijan, Armenia right down the middle. Now, right now there's a big battle, and basically they have thrown out all the Armenians that were in Nagorno-Karabakh. Okay, they've thrown them out. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to Armenia. So that's where they're trying to get. They got to Yerevan, and they're trying to figure out where to go from there. They have thousands of people coming in. They're trying to figure out how to, get them food and shelter and all the other things that go along with that. migration because of war, migration because they've been thrown out basically of this oblast, of this area that was, you know, a part of Azerbaijan, but it was populated a lot by Armenians. So here we have this, you know, the historical aspect, and it's hilarious that I can't believe that nobody's come up with this yet. I mean, I can't believe that of all the journalists we have out there and the historians and these professors I hear all the time, I hear professors over and over and over again on these shows. I mean, these guys are highly educated, they have their PhDs, they probably did their dissertation on this stuff. Why aren't they bringing up Danzig? I don't understand why they don't do this. So here we have this one more time, folks. Here's the situation here. Here's the situation in Danzig. What happened with Danzig? They invaded. They invaded Danzig. They invaded it, and basically everyone got upset about it. But bottom line is that, you know, how much did the U.S., how much did the U.K. really help Danzig? Well, the U.K. did. They tried to put expeditionary forces in there and everything else. Look what they had to do. Look where they had to come from. I mean, they couldn't very well go through Germany, so they had to, you know, go through wherever they had to go through to be able to get to Danzig. The same thing here. You got Nagorno-Karabakh here, which is now being basically, they call it ethnic cleansing. You can call it whatever you want. The bottom line is they are throwing out the Armenians, throwing them out. What's next? Well, let me guess. You got Azerbaijan here, and right in the middle here you have Armenia. You don't think that Azerbaijan is going to sit there and look very, you know, as they drool over this border here, and they sit there and say, you know, maybe it would be good for us to take Azerbaijan, this portion back. Or, you know, if Armenia wants this area, they push them closer and just have Armenia extend their borders right here. Whichever one, doesn't make any difference. Armenia is going to give up, one way or another, Armenia is going to give up territory. And this is the way it's going to go. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I'm sitting back going, really, folks? You know, and I don't know how many people actually know of Nagorno-Karabakh. You know, and you know, just as a point of you know, just for a point here. Let's go here. I'm just gonna see. Okay, so let's go to Google Trends. Google Trends. Okay, I want to do Google Trends, and we're going to put in here. We're going to put in here Explorer. We're going to put. I don't care about this. Explorer. We're going to put in. Let's see. Colorado versus USC. Really, I don't care about Colorado versus. Sorry, I don't care. There are things that are happening here, and it's unbelievable. So let's put Armenia, right? Let's put Armenia in here. Just who has looked up Armenia? So we have some Armenia stuff here. It's going on. It's going here good. Okay. Wow. This is real. I mean, this is really good. So right around here, people are very, you know, they're very, they're understanding this stuff, right? I mean, whatever. So then you have that, and let's take a look at a celebrity. Let's take a look at Taylor Swift. All right. So let's take a look at Taylor Swift and see what we've got here. So here's Taylor Swift. In comparison, these are the searches. Taylor Swift in comparison to Armenia. People care more about Taylor Swift than they do about Armenia. Looking up anything about Armenia. This is the United States, folks. This is where we are. I mean, wake up and smell the coffee. You know, I mean, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, you know, oh, you know, you don't understand the fans, Chris. I don't care. I don't care about Taylor Swift. I don't care about her music. I don't care about any of that. There are people dying in Nagorno-Karabakh. There are people dying, you know, in Azerbaijan territory. There are people dying, and we're worried about the next Taylor Swift commercial or song, or whether or not she's going out with this football player. Don't care. This is major headlines here, and it's like whatever. The U.S. media, shameful. You got to be ashamed of yourself. You should have on that screen what's going on in the world, not what's going on in Taylor Swift lives. I mean, cut me a break, Publicist or whatever else. I mean, again, my opinion. All you Swiftie fans, I don't care. You know, I don't care. It's not money in my pocket. It's nothing in anybody's pocket. It's about one person. And you sit back and you go, these are the Armenia aspect it's a shame. Nagorno, let's see if Nagorno-Karabakh is in here. I don't even know if it's in here. Karabakh. I don't even know if Nagorno-Karabakh's in there. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, come on, really? So, I mean, at least I got something here. Nagorno-Karabakh 00. It's probably because I spelled it wrong. And you got to spell it right to get it right. So let's go back here and let me make sure I got this right here. So Nagorno-Karabakh. Okay, so it's Nagorno-Karabakh. So I'm going to go back here again. I'm going to do it again. Nagorno-Karabakh. So we're going to hit this. We're going to see what we got here. Okay, so you can see Armenia here. You see Nagorno-Karabakh. So at least some people are doing this. But when you compare it against something else, it's ridiculous. How about let's put on the Golden Bachelor, right? Golden Bachelor. You know, what do we got here? Yeah, that's great. That's just great. This is what we're talking. This is what I'm talking about. Look at this. This is the gold. The gold, of course, is golden. You know, I mean, look at this. California. Source interest for Armenia. California. District of Columbia. I mean, look at all this. Was it Cher that said she was Armenian? You know, oh, this is horrible what they're doing, whatever else. Where are you, Cher? Come on. Speak up. You know, step up. So, I mean, this is the situation. Sad. It's really, really sad. So that's what we have when I talk about Danzig, talk about Nagorno-Karabakh, right? Okay. So let's talk about next. Let's talk about Slovakia. All right. So before we talk about Slovakia, let's find it on a map, right? So let's make sure we have this. Slovakia is southeast of Czechos, which is the old Czechoslovakia. That's split into two countries. So this is what we have here, and let's go ahead and just kick this thing around. Whoop, 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 whoop. Let's clear this. What we got? Okay. So here's Poland, here's Czechia, and here's Slovakia. Slovakia, as you can see, is right bordered with Ukraine right here. It's bordered with Ukraine. So is Poland. Of course, Poland is also with Belarus here, which is really Belarus is also a adversary, if you want to call it that. And then you have Ukraine here. So all of this is really an issue. Oh, I want to show you something else. So here's something else. I may not have enough time to cover everything I want today, but I want to make sure and show you some of this. Moldova. I mean, so here we have Serbia, Romania. We're getting closer. So this is Ukraine. This is Moldova. Now I want you to take a look at Moldova as we get closer in Moldova. I'm sorry, we have some. So right in here, there's a region. Right in here is a region, right between Ukraine and Moldova. And basically it's Russian speaking, Russian occupied, they got Russian soldiers there, whatever else. This is also another Danzig. This is another Danzig, folks. I mean, sitting there, the Russians are saying, well, Ukraine's in our way. We want to get to this area right in here, right where Moldova is. We want to take over this area and make it part of Russia. So, I mean, it's all about sovereignty. It's all about being able to do the things you need to do. So it's ridiculous, right? So you have Belarus, Poland. Here's Slovakia. So why is Slovakia so important? Well, let me tell you. Here you have a problem. BBC, great stuff. Slovakia's Robert Fico eyes come back in Saturday's election. Who is Robert Fico? Well, here's the problem. The Fico, this is, NATO and EU are starting to break. You can see it's starting to break. NATO and EU used to be kind of like this one kind of deal here, but it's starting to break. And, you have a NATO member, Hungary, which is a problem from the beginning. But this is where you're starting to get these elections, especially specifically in Slovakia, where this individual Fico is a problem. I mean, literally a problem, because Fico is kind of like he likes the Russians. So it says Ukrainian Nazis and fascists started murdering the Russian population of Donbass. So this is told a rally. The war had started in 2014. So all of a sudden, we have Fico, however you want to pronounce his name, is running for a really, he's running as basically a Russian friend. This could be a problem. This could be a real problem. Here's why. Here's another reason why. Is because you also have one in Poland. You also have an election in Poland. And this is a problem because, and this is the Guardian, which is really actually pretty good. The Polish is the same way. Poland is starting to get pissed off. Starting to get pissed off about the war. The war, Ukrainians are, they're saying they're taking their money from the standpoint of lower cost for grain. They're giving arms to them. They're getting, it's getting to be a problem. So Poland's starting to waver with their support on Ukraine. Slovakia is going to waver if the election is successful. So all of a sudden, you're going to have two NATO countries that are going to start to back off of this whole thing. In the middle of this, what else is happening, and this is extremely important, is that the Germans just had a massive, this is Euronews, also very good. Germany had just invited all the Central Asians to, hey, let's talk about a middle corridor here. Let's talk about getting stuff from your area to our area in Europe, and we can talk about this area and whatever else. So what do we care, right? I mean, okay, that's cool. They're doing world aspects and everything else. Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, there were a bunch of other stans that were doing it. Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. All of these are Central Asia. Basically, they're called Central Asia. They run the gap. They close the gap between China, East Asia, India, and Europe. So why should we care? That's fine if they want to get it. If they want to get that up and do whatever. The European Union, Thierry, who's one of the directors in the EU, basically said we need to be more open to trade. We need to be more of a good trading partner. He just recently said that. So what does that tell me? Well, it tells me the EU is about to say, well, China's really bad, but we really need their trade. So all of a sudden they're going to say, hey, that's fine. It's, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan and Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, they're okay. They're not really Chinese. Wrong answer. And I've said this, and I've said it, and I've said it, and I've said it, and I've said it. I'm going to say it again. They are most of these stans are part of what they call the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Now, or the SCO. Now, the SCO is sanctioned by the UN. It is that they actually, that's cool. It's all good, well, it's not all good. Basically, they have a bunch of different countries in there, and what they're trying to form is kind of an anti-EU is basically what's going to happen. And they are all based, China's trying to get them all to take their currency. They're trying to make their currency the standard. If they make the currency standard in East Asia and then Central Asia, that's going to be an issue. Interesting about it is they just did what they call a Belt and Road Initiative. Now, this is with the CFR, Council of Foreign Relations. These are the countries that are part of the Belt and Road Initiative, which is China. This is China. Look at this. Let me give you a couple of them. Kazakhstan, boom. Uzbekistan, boom. Kyrgyzstan, boom. Tajikistan, boom. And China's right here. They are trying to get this Belt Road Initiative in here, and Ukraine is even part of it. Belarus, Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Romania. Can you see where this could be a problem? I mean, here's China. China loves that Belt and Road Initiative. They want to get more and more trade with all these different countries. Look at the ones in Africa. And it's interesting enough when you take a look at this, Mali, coup, right? Algeria, Mali, Ivory Coast, Mauritania, Niger, they joined, unknown as of this point. They haven't joined. There's Chad, there's Nigeria, Cameroon. I mean, you have all kind of different countries here that are doing this. They are just lining up. And then you got South America. They're all lined up. So they want more and more and more of this area. So I mean, this could be an issue, a very, very big issue. So then Thierry says, yeah, they're talking about different aspects, specifically germanium and gallium. And germanium and gallium are extremely, extremely, extremely important. And how important are they? Well, here, germanium and gallium are not found in Europe as much as they're found in the United States. We actually have germanium and gallium. You know, and what are we talking about? I mean, this is very, very important. All these different areas, you can even get maps and everything else on this stuff to show where they are. So there's a lot of mining to be done here. We have gallium deposits and we have germanium deposits, right? So we have these different areas that we talk about. And interestingly, so you have all these things. And what does this all mean? Well, it means that the United States has the ability to fight China in their push to try to get those things that need to be done to be able to get all the areas, all these. So I wanted to, that's Armenia, Ukraine, Germany, China. There was a I wanted to show you, and I thought I had it, was the different how important it is, how vital it is that we have germanium and gallium. So it's not just you know, germanium and gallium and okay, what are those? It's not just tech aspects. It has to do with Defense Department. You know, our germanium and gallium are essential to things like jets, let's say. I mean, things like that. Very, very important. So all these things go into that, and it's very, very important that we gain a perspective on how important the United States is for that. So that is, you know, that is really something that needs to be brought out, and more and more and more. You know, I'm just surprised, and this is shocking, although it's not too shocking. Why don't the U.S. media take a look at Haystack News? I mean, Haystack News has all the foreign stuff. It got Euro News, France 24, Al Jazeera, all these areas. You mean to tell me that these U.S. journalists aren't looking at this? I can't even imagine it. And they're not picking up stories, not making that work. You know, and it's sad because all they're doing is, you know, the old if it bleeds, it leads thing. And all they're worried about is celebrity aspects, and they're worried about chaos in the United States. That's all they're worried about, and that's all they're talking about. And it's really sad. I mean, really, in Europe, they have 6 individuals, 6 miners, M-I-N-O-R-S, that have sued countries in Europe because the climate change is not happening fast enough. You're going to let these miners, M-I-N-O-R-S, take suit against countries that are trying to just savor infrastructure and figure out how to feed their population, and you're going to tell them they're not doing climate change fast enough. It's ridiculous. But again, my opinion. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end for the day. I really appreciate you guys watching and tuning in. And sorry about getting on the soapbox and going off sometimes, but hey, I just get passionate about this. So I hope you can appreciate that. And I hope you take these areas, you take these looks, and you take a look at these different things that I pointed out and research them yourself. Do some things to be able to make yourself as smart as possible when it comes to world aspects. This is really important, and this should be covered in school. This stuff should be covered in school every day. Every day. The students in high school and middle school should be able to take a look at different countries and be able to understand the relationship to the United States and what it is that they do that's important to us. And I think that, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much sums up the worldview. Until next time, this is Chris Greco saying, try to have a worldview.